Hey, we're back. This is John.
It's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's Eric's dogs.
Yeah.
And it's What
right.
If Geeks.
Like they were quiet right until I pressed record.
And it's What If Geeks with our guest hosts. So we are here with the season finale. Even Disney doesn't fucking know of Moon Knight. And I say that because I guess like right before this thing dropped, they dropped on Twitter a little, Moon Knight series finale, and then it quickly got taken down and came back up and said Moon Knight series finale or season finale.
Yeah, I wonder if they submitted Moon Knight for Emmys for a limited series. And I wonder if they didn't just shoot themselves in the foot by doing that. I mean, not to say that anybody cares what a tweet says necessarily, but
right. Well, we'll get into speculation on that at the end of this thing. Let's end this season/series. Much like the rest of the season, what the fuck is going on? All right, so we last left Mark and Steven had gone with Taweret, right? The hippo goddess.
Yep.
Trying to go through the sands of the dead, and they got attacked because their hearts weren't quite imbalanced, so they didn't make it to the door of Osiris or whatever it was in time. So they got attacked by the sand people. So a bunch of Tusken Raiders came out of nowhere. No, a bunch of people came out of the sand. So it was, again, more people like Mark had killed or whatever, but it was the sand attacking them. And Mark fights them off for a little while. Steven jumps into the fight because he realizes, well, Mark, you've got this. And then he's like, wait a minute, if I'm you, then I got this too. And runs and attacks somebody and then goes right over the side of the fucking boat. Saves Mark, but falls into the sands, turns into sand, and then the hearts are balanced because I guess there's only one mind in there now. And Taweret says, the doors are opening. Look, the scales are balanced. The doors open, and she takes Mark into the field of reeds, right? That was the last episode. So we open up on, now again, we've been speculating on what exactly is going on in this season or this series for like the entire run of the show. But these last couple episodes, how it jumps from them in the land of the dead to them in an insane asylum to one of them in the insane asylum, but switching personalities. So we didn't know what's supposed to be real or what's not. So when he goes through the field of reeds, we're in this episode. It opens up on his body in the water in the temple, right? After being shot. So I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be the real world. We'll get to that in a minute. But Harrow's men drag him out of the little pool there, and Harrow shakes his head. Didn't have to be this way. Takes the little the figure, that thing.
Ushtabi, is that what it is?
Yeah, that Ushtabi. The Ushtabi for Amit, and they leave. But as they're getting ready to leave, one of the guards comes around the corner. Layla's there listening to him talk, and she kills the guard and hides the body. So they all leave, and you realize that she's with Harrow's people, right, in the vehicles. I think from there we cut back to the field of reeds. Is that correct?
No, not yet.
I don't think so. Yeah.
There's
Okay.
that whole scene that happens when they stop.
I only just watched it. You think I'd remember already?
They stop on the road or whatever, and there's some bodies there, and Taweret is talking to her through one of the dead men.
Oh yeah, because
At this point, doesn't he take Hera takes the thing, right? Breaks the statuette, and Amit kind of spirit goes into him, right? And so now he's sort of bristling with power. The cane, the part where he holds the cane changes a little, looks more like an axe.
Alligator
almost.
head. Yeah, it looks like an axe with an alligator face on it.
Yeah.
So they decided to go to the tomb to actually raise her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the part I was missing.
Then
Yes.
he goes in the caravan of cars, and
They're stopped by the police.
correct. He gets out. He's like, "All right, everybody's cool," and then he stamps his thing down, and their souls, almost all of them, come out.
Yep.
Right, because he judges them. And one of the fallen officers, Layla's in the back with a mask on. She jumps out, and that's when Tarouette takes sort of control of one of the officers. She's like, "Hey, Mark sent me. I'm Tarouette. Here's what's going on. Right, you got to help."
It's so weird because the first one she's talking out of a woman's body, right? And she's talking to her, so you're like, okay, that's fine. But then the body kind of gives up, and she pops into. Well, Layla moves up a little bit, and she pops into the body of a man. And still her voice coming out of it, like, "No, Layla, listen." She's like,
a man with a 70s porn mustache.
yes. And she's like, Mark sent me. Mark can help, And she's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, if you can bring him back, if he can come back to life. And she's like, "What do you mean come back to life?" She's like, "You got to listen to me." And she says in there, like, "He's told me so much about you. You could be my avatar." And Layla just looks at her like, "What?" Remember, she says it real quick out of the body. And then Layla's like, "What are you talking? How can Mark come back from the dead? What are you talking?" Or like, she's like, "Yeah, it's impossible." And Tarouette says something that made me laugh. She's like, "Well, I'm kind of talking out of the body of a dead guy anyway, so She does just like that, like, But then we cut back to Harrow because he's getting ready to leave again to go to Amit's tomb, right? And Layla's like, "I'll stop myself," and she puts the mask back on, jumps back into the truck. Then what? Then we're in the Field of Reeds? I don't fucking
No, still not quite, because there's a scene with Amit
show up to the tomb.
where she talks to Harrow. Harrow's ready to die or whatever.
Yes, that's when he actually goes there and he
Yeah.
breaks the thing and he raises her.
Yeah. And then while that's happening, Layla is also in that same tomb. She finds Khonshu.
Tarouette said, "Find Khonshu. He's in the field. He's in the temple of the gods."
I always thought all the pictures that we saw of Amit was a dog. Like, the thing was a dog.
I always thought it was a dog too, but they did say in here that she's got the face of an alligator.
I was surprised at the alligator face. I was like, I thought, because all the cave, sort of the hieroglyphics and stuff were all dogs. So
I thought it was a dog too. Maybe that's somebody. I think that might be somebody else though.
Yeah.
Could be somebody else.
Anubis has a jackal face.
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably Anubis we're thinking of. But yeah, I remember them saying she had the face of an alligator at some point, like early on in the series. So, all right, where are we at? Eric, Paul, somebody.
Anyway, I guess ultimately, Amit says she doesn't want to kill him. She already took Avatar with balanced scales, and look where it got her. So she decides to take Harrow, as you mentioned, as her avatar. And then, meanwhile, Layla breaks Khonshu's Ushtabi and frees him. Khonshu is trying to convince her that she should be his avatar. And he can tell right away that he knows right away that Mark's dead. He's like, I can't sense
I don't sense him on this world. Yeah. So
then she refuses, and we cut to the Field of Reeds.
There you go. Thanks.
I
keep jumping to the Field of Reeds because it was so.
Your Mephisto is here.
So he's in the field, and Tarouette's talking to him, and she's like, "It's nice, right? It's peaceful." And he says, "Yeah." She's like, "It's everything you've wanted. No more fighting, no more imbalance, nothing. It's the peace that you want and deserve." And he looks at her. He says, "But Steven's stuck in the sand, right?" And she's like, and she says something. He's in the sands of the dead or whatever, and that's it for him. And Mark's like, "Yeah, I'm not good with that." He literally says just like that. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not good with that."
Yeah, he's like, I get eternal peace, and he has to lay in the sand forever.
yeah. He's like, "I'm not cool with that." I was wondering how they were going to do all this with.
Well, and I guess my one of my first issues was he goes, I want to go back, and she's like, it's not how it works, and he just goes back anyway, and
Right.
and I'm like, you just said that's not how this works. You don't get to just go back, but he just goes back.
I guess if you're a former Avatar, you get a little leeway. We'll go with
Maybe.
that. Sure. We'll help Kevin Feige write it.
Or maybe no one's ever done it, so they're like, I guess you could, but no one ever does.
I was a little confused at certain points, so she's like, I mean, she was like kind of going through her nose when we first saw her. So maybe she's a little rusty. But yeah.
So Mark
turns
goes
back.
He turns back, starts running through the sand to try to find Steven, and does. And then they have this, Mark does this whole little speech about like having you as my superpower and you saved me and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and
he's
then
like, I'll never leave you.
he's starting.
It was a little sappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's starting to sort of solidify and become a solid sand person. And but I don't know, they touch hands or do something.
He puts the heart in
Between their
Steven's hand,
yeah.
and then he turns to sand, and then the doors crack and the heart
Right.
glows, and the two of them wake up.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, cool, Osiris's tomb is open. Let's go.
Yeah.
So they roll in, and then there's
presumably Osiris did that, right? They never actually explain how.
Well, when they're running and the sand starts to try to stop them by making a sand tsunami, whatever the hell it was, right? This wave of sand is coming at them. All of a sudden, here comes Tower with her damn boat. Which, by the way, when Mark went back and everything like automatically turned back into the sands of the dead right around him.
Yeah.
When Steven dropped off the ship, he's far away when Mark is yelling at him. When he turns around from the field of reeds to find Steven's like 5 fucking feet away.
Yeah, and also directly in front of the gate.
The gate to Osiris is right there too. Like, so like all of that was like conveniently like much shorter than they experienced maybe. But so Tara comes flying through the boat, and as she comes to help them and break up the wave of sand, she calls out, Osiris, you cheeky whatever. Or you sentimental whatever. She calls him something, meaning like, yeah, that was Osiris.
Okay, I missed that.
She says that, yeah. And she's like, come on, boys. And then they run out into the gate. And yeah, so then we wake up.
Yeah, well, then we get treated to a fight scene between Khonshu and Amit in the temple.
Don't we first go to, when do we go back to the asylum?
That's after this, because they're starting to run towards the gate, and then the sand wall's coming in. Tower comes and breaks it so they can complete the run. And before they go through the gates, it flips back to the temple and shows Khonshu confronting Amit. And then eventually they get into a physical brawl, and he's apparently no match for her at all, even though that dude is like fucking moving around like he's got teleportation skills and shit. And she's just standing there like, I slam you in the ground.
Kicks him, throws him in the shit. Yeah, she's much better at it than he is, even though, you'd think she'd be a little rusty being locked up for 2,000 years. But no ring rust at her. She came out like Tyson in his 50s, just beating the piss out of Khonshu like an asshole on a plane. Topical. So sorry. So they're fighting, and then when Mark gets through the gate and wakes up, Khonshu like looks up and goes, Mark, and then disappears. Like he takes off. And then they do a whole quick little montage of like the first time Khonshu talked to Mark and him coming out of the water at the same time. They do this whole thing there where basically like, where he asks him again, do you swear to uphold vengeance for the travels of the night, blah, 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 whatever. And he says, live again. And he becomes Moon Knight again. The bullets pop out of him, fall to the ground, and it becomes Moon Knight again.
But I thought there was this scene where he, maybe it's late. I don't know.
It's later.
Okay.
That happens when Khonshu releases them, that they go back to the.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think next on this is that they both go meet up with Khonshu, who teleported to them or whatever, and they're having a little bit of an argument, and the the specters want to renegotiate the deal, right?
Yeah, because now he's switching back and forth between Steven and Mark at will, like they're sharing the body. Right?
Yeah,
And he changes
and switching the uniform at will.
Right.
yeah, and it's happening quick. It was actually a really good effect. And Steven's like, because Khonshu meets him outside the temple there, and Mark Moon Knight walks up, and Khonshu says, "We have to stop Amit. She's been risen." And Mark says, "What then?" And Khonshu's like, what do you mean? He goes, what's going to happen then? What's the deal? And then he changes to Steven, and Steven's like, exactly how does this deal work now? Because, was multiple parties involved now. How does this work? And Khonshu's just like, what the fuck? He literally says, you want to negotiate now? Because Steven sits down on a rock and crosses his leg like, we're going to do this right now. He's like, you really want to negotiate now? And they said, we learn from the best. Meaning him. So he says, fine, I'll release you.
Right. He says he's gonna release him after Amit's dead or put back. That's the deal they got. So he agrees to that.
Yep.
And then it's how the hell are we getting to the temple? It's so far away. And Khonshu says, I'm still the god of the sky, and raises up a wind, and then tells Steven, hurry up, you idiot, because he's not in the right uniform or whatever. And then it switches back to Mark, and then he puts the wings up so he can fly there, apparently. And it was a pretty ridiculous, like
Mark, you got this one.
Flying through the air thing they had going on there. This is kind of
it was cool. It just like, it was like, again, like for Moon Knight, I mean, I don't remember ever really dealing with that before. So, but again, I mean, I haven't read much of his shit. So I guess for a one-time thing, to call up a wind and make him fly clear across the damn thing, maybe it's like something he can't do all the time. That I'm okay with that, but I know he doesn't fucking fly. So
yeah. So back at the temple, Osiris's avatar is dying, and Layla's trying to help him so that they can figure out how to get rid of Amit. He tells her, we gotta imprison her in a mortal form now, not in a Ushtabi or whatever, body a person's body instead of a statue, and that'll make her vulnerable. So she tries to ask him how to do it, and he's like, well, we need more avatars to do it. It's impossible. And then he dies, basically.
Yeah.
And then
he calls out to Tower Rat.
Tower Rat takes over the body real quick and says, hey, Layla, you ready to be
yells her name, yells Layla.
Yeah.
She yells Layla, and Layla's like, what the fuck? Then Harrow and all his men here, and he's like, somebody else is here. Oh no, he said that before when Khonshu came. He's like, someone's here, find her. And Tower Rat in the body yells Layla's name, but then then they start talking. And she's like, did you decide you decided to accept my deal? And I guess Layla says, yeah.
Temporarily.
But that part was funny because they're talking to each other in Layla's head, so in Layla's body.
Right.
And she's like going back and forth between the two personalities, just like Mark normally does. But it was kind of funny because Tower Rat's like, all right, so you're gonna be my avatar? Oh, this is so. She's like, your father's gonna be so excited, and Layla comes back to my father, and she's like, oh yeah, he's so lovely. I met him when I brought him into the field of reeds. Like I can tell him later. And she's like, oh, I've got the best costume. She goes, something like that. She goes, oh, I've thought up the best costume or some crap like that, right? And then like half the fucking thing caves in again, and she's gone, or you don't see her anymore, right? And then what? We cut back to Harrow.
Yeah, Harrow's up on top of the Great Pyramid of Giza. He does unleash his little purple power, and somehow signals his followers that it's time to start judging people. And then you see like all kinds of random people just start with the balance scales, just start grabbing people's hands, and there's fucking spirits flying everywhere. And then this part actually bothered the shit out of me Go ahead.
Harrow's a one-staff purple people eater.
Yeah. This really bothered the fuck out of me, but all the spirits are like flying back to the temple and amidst eating them, and she's just growing into like this giant kaiju thing. I'm like, oh my god, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, this is so cool. I'm just kidding. I was like, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I guess it's okay to make her big, but it just seems so weird. And then jumping ahead a little bit, when Khonshu shows up, he just makes himself big. Like, he doesn't have to go eat spirits. Like, what is this nonsense?
Well, again, he's been out and running around. He's got power. So
I guess.
he's energized to do that. But yeah, so Moon Knight shows up flying across the sky, and they do a really cool scene there where he's running up the side of the pyramid and Harrow starts running down the side of the pyramid, and they meet in the middle, and Harrow eats a knee from Moon Knight pretty well. Like, yeah.
No big deal.
Exactly. They start going at each other, and that's when Layla shows up in costume, right?
Which is a pretty cool costume.
It was a cool costume. She looks like like what you would picture to be an Egyptian princess, queen, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like the standard, like with white, with gold, whatever. And then she just reaches behind herself and whips out the wings. So
bro, that shit was stolen from Wonder Woman 1984. I don't care what you
my god, yeah. Well, she is out of the comics. It's the Scarlet Scarab or something like that. We'll have to look it up. But she's a character out of the comics. So I don't know if it's actually Layla or whatever, but it's somebody associated with Moon Knight that really exists. So now she's an avatar and she's got power, and she starts trying to help Mark fight Harrow, and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, and again, not to knock things too much, but Mark Spector was already a badass fighter when he got the powers, and clearly the powers he got from Khonshu did not go into Stephen Grant, for example, right? He couldn't fight for shit at first. Right. But she gets her powers and she's suddenly like fucking badass, like whipping everybody. I'm like, what the hell is this Hippo lady's power?
There's been a
One
few
of the first couple
in here.
Episodes.
Yeah, she
handles herself. Yeah, she handles herself when they go to that fancy house, and the guy's having medieval knights in his backyard. Like she takes care of that one of the dudes, and then in this episode, she can fight. She handles one of the guards, like she kills one of the guards with a bare hand.
This is crazy though. She's out here with dual swords, freaking spinning around, chopping people. She's using her wings as shields and shots. Just like, oh my god, she learned that quick.
He even kicks a little ass in this because
he does.
He does 2 fighting sticks and goes through some people. So
that's like the first time we really see it though. He's failed at fighting like so many times.
Yeah, the only thing he's ever succeeded at in a fight was when he punched the jackal. And it was one punch. But this is, again, it was really cool where when she saves Mark, Mark's got the mask off for a second and it's just the suit with the cape. And he's like, Layla, you all right? And he hugs her and then he pulls her away and morphs into the suit as Steven. And he's like, oh, look at you. What are you wearing? This is so nice. He's like, you look great.
They actually flip back and forth between them several times
during this fight. That's what I was about to say. Like, as they're fighting, they keep switching the uniform. So it goes from Mark with the fighting sticks and all of a sudden, or Steven with the fighting sticks, and all of a sudden he morphs back into Mark, throws a few of the moon boomerang things.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool fight scene, all in all.
It is.
They spent a decent amount of money on getting that shit going for this fight scene.
Yeah, and then they throw in the middle a gratuitous rescue the helpless people scene, which felt really weird to me. When all the people pile in the van and it gets knocked over, and she stops fighting to go save them, and then there's like a little girl just fucking standing there. I guess she was just enjoying the show. Like, are you an Egyptian superhero?
Right, yeah. Well, she was standing there. The Layla jumps in because she's about to get hit by that van. Because Harrow attacks the van because, of course, people in peril, like Eric said. He attacks the van. She jumps over, grabs the girl, and moves her out of the way, and then pushes the bus back a little bit. And that's when the girl says, "Are you an Egyptian
But
hero?" And she says, "I
here's the
am."
thing, because it felt a little bit like the female power thing in
I was about to say that.
Endgame.
Of course.
It's a van full of women, Middle Eastern women, and who get attacked by a dude, and Layla saves them, right? Pulls them out of the way, and then a young girl's like, obviously of Middle Eastern descent, is like, "Are you the first Egyptian superhero?" And she's like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah, basically. So yeah, again, Disney
I
was
just
more
want to
of
make sure you know before they put her in the next lineup with Avengers that she
Yeah,
was
well-
always there. She was always ahead of the men.
Yeah, it's Disney's more Disney's forced woke message. So somebody called DeSantis and take something else away from him.
The first Middle Eastern superhero in the Marvel universe is a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. She's got 4 check boxes going, I think.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the bad guys are winning this fight towards the end here. They do well at first, but then they start to lose. She gets pinned. Layla gets pinned down, and
Conscious kick, getting his ass kicked.
yep. And then Harrow unleashes the staff on Mark and knocks him to the ground and is about to kill him, I think.
Yeah, he's got the staff in where the moon is, and it's like he's pumping energy into him, and then Mark blacks out.
Yeah.
Again. I
Yeah.
knew exactly what the fuck was happening there.
Yeah, I knew too what was going on, but it did not happen the way I expected, though, for the rest of the episode. But
Yeah, then he wakes up and he's got everyone's dead on the ground, and he's got Harrow by the back of the head with his staff, about to fucking put it right through his head, and
beaten to a pulp. Like,
yeah, he stops, he looks around. Yeah, Harrow's beat to shit, and he looks and he goes, and now finally, I guess because he and Steven are in sync now, he's more aware. Where before, when it happened, they were blaming each other. He goes, "Steven, that wasn't you, was it, buddy?" And Steven takes over and is like, "Absolutely not. It was not me." And Layla looks at him and goes, "Mark, what the hell was that?" And he's like, "I blacked out." Like, so he doesn't know. So they free themselves and
yeah, and they see him dragging
help me get
Khonshu's beaten body off, and that's when they decide. I think they're going to go back to the temple.
Yeah, she tells him, "Help me get Harrow. Bring Harrow. I know how to stop him."
Yeah, Layla apparently knows a spell to to trap a god into a human body.
She just figured it out.
Yeah.
All the other avatars said was, "You got to trap him in a mortal form," and now she knows.
Simple math problem. It's easy, guys.
Maybe Tararet was feeding it to her. I'm coming up with all kinds of excuses to help this show out.
I know. This part bothered me too, because they do take him back to the temple. They put him on the altar, and then she's like, "Hey, you got to help me with this spell." And then they both just start chanting the words. Like, what the fuck?
And they know it. Yeah, they both know the words.
But anyway, it works. And Amit's body gets trapped inside of Harrow, and Khonshu tells Mark to kill him, and of course, the ever hero, he can't go through with it. If you want him dead, you kill him. But we are
ready to.
Huh?
Yeah, he's getting ready to for a second. He's like, "If I want to be free, I got to do this." And then he's like, then Layla says, "Look, there's another way. You're already free. We stopped her." So then he looks at Khonshu and says, "You want to do it yourself," and throws the moon thing down on the ground.
Yeah, and I think I may be remembering this wrong, but did they establish earlier that Khonshu can't kill her for some reason?
No, I don't know.
Maybe mixing it up with something else.
I don't know. Maybe. Who the fuck knows?
Well, anyway, it doesn't really matter. So they trap her. He refuses. And Khonshu says, "Okay, fine, have it your way." And he releases them both. And then all of a sudden, we're back in the asylum.
Yeah, which, dude, okay.
I know, right? I thought right here they were going to do that. This is a, hallucination dream thing or something. I'm like, okay, the first time you didn't get me, but you just did it again.
Yeah, so I really thought, I was like, are they really going to pull like a fucking St. Elsewhere, Newhart show where none of it really happened? Yeah. So Steven's there, and Harrow, the doctor, is there talking to him. And Steven says something to him, and then Mark takes over, Oh, because basically, like, Harrow tells him, like, you made a lot of progress, whatever, and blah blah blah, and we could put all this behind us. And then Steven says, "But do you believe in Amit and Khonshu, that they're real?" And Harrow says, "No." And then Mark takes over and he goes, "Well, what if we disagree with you, Doc?" And Harrow looks at him and goes, "Mark," and he goes to walk away from him. When he goes to walk, he's leaving bloody footprints because now he's got the sandals on that he didn't have on before, right? And Mark looks, he's like, "Steven, you see that?" And Steven says, "I do." So what is it? Harrow says something to him, and then Mark basically said, like, so Steven's like, Steven argues with him, and then Mark takes back over again and says, "It seems like you don't know as much about this place as we do." And I was like, "Well, that's cool. Maybe somebody can clue us the fuck in."
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the fuck is good. Because then I was like, "All right, so are we now like in Harrow's mind, where you know what I mean? Like maybe what happened earlier was in Mark's mind because he was dying, but now we're in Harrow's mind because they trapped Amit in him. Like none of it's making sense, or is it like just a different, like, kind of an astral plane type of thing that they meet on
Well,
for?"
I don't want to ruin the mid-credits scene, but I mean, I think the answer
We'll
here
get
is,
there, yeah.
huh?
Well, yeah, we'll get to the end credits now because then they
And I
basically
think that
it
answered
doesn't
the
work
question.
out. That's
That
it.
answered the question for me of what the hell's going on with the asylum.
Oh, okay, all right. I think I see where you're going. All right, so yeah, walk us through. So they leave, and then it cuts to the credits, right?
Yeah, they just say I think Mark says, "We're not accepting your diagnosis, Doc," and then he falls
Yeah.
over
And Steven
and
says
then wakes
later,
up in the bed.
yeah.
It's the original scene with with Steven tied to the post.
Yeah,
And,
the music playing.
yeah, he falls
Yeah.
over when he tries to get out of bed because he got the leg brace thing tied up.
Yeah,
Except
yeah,
that
it's
now
funny
there's
too,
two
'cause he
fish.
said-
There's two fish in the tank.
yeah. And Mark says, so which represents both of their minds in that body, right? And Mark says, "Steven, you still there?" And Steven says, "Yeah, I am." And he says, so he goes, "I can't believe, we did all that or whatever." And Mark's like, "I can't believe you live in this place." And then he goes to get up and falls out of the bed. And then it cuts to the credits.
Right. And so
Then we get an end credit scene ish, mid credit, end credit, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, well, the mid credit, I guess, is the important part for
Yeah.
So in the mid credit scene, it's Harrow that's in a real live insane asylum. He's drugged up and whatever. He's supposed to go back to his room, but then some random person comes and says, "I'm going to take him." Black suit, black gloves on.
Yeah, you don't see him. You just see
You don't really see him, just from behind or from the side, but never the face or anything. He throws him into a limo, and Khonshu's inside in a suit. I don't know what the hell that
And
was.
as he wheels him out, you see one of the guards is dead.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
And so Khonshu's talking to him about Mark Spector and whatever. I wanted his wife to be my avatar, but then he's like,
no. Harrow, yeah. He says, "I can't believe Mark Spector thought I wanted his wife to be my avatar."
yeah. And he says, "Why would I need anybody else?"
Right.
Yeah, well, because Harrow tells him first. Harrow goes, "Khonshu." It's like, "You can't hurt me. You can't hurt us."
No.
Right. That's where I think Eric or you guys are getting that too, or when he says, "You can't hurt us." So I guess maybe Khonshu can't really do much to them. But that's when he says, "Why would I want anybody else?" Yeah, and then he says, Mark Spector is more broken than he knew," and he taps on the window, and the window starts to roll down, and he says, "Meet my friend, Jake Lockley."
Yeah.
And the guy turns around, and it's Mark, but in the Jake personality, and he's got like a little hat on,
The kind of cabbie hat, yeah,
cabbie hat on, and he says something in Italian to him. I forget what the hell he says, but he says something in Italian. I thought it was Italian. It sounded Italian. And then just holds out a gun and shoots 3-4 silent rounds into him. And then the limo starts to drive off and pans back from the limo. And there's a giant white limo with Spectre on the front, which is right out of the comics too. and then we cut to the other credits. So we got Jake Lockley finally.
Yeah.
Which
So
we
this,
knew a couple times in there that he had popped out.
Well, I mean, there was a sarcophagus, there was some missing time stuff, there was several
There was a few
indicators that
little hints to him before that we had already kind of given our nod to.
But this is, I think, how you explain this is how I was able to understand the scene with the hospital, because I think all it was is when he released them, Lockley took over the body, and the other two were up there in the mine somewhere imagining this play out, right? And then when they decided, fuck this isn't real, and he fell over and woke up, then they had control of the body again. Didn't, you know what I mean? Didn't realize what was going on, like that the body was being used by somebody else in that time.
Right, yeah. Like right now, they still don't know that Lockley's there.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's where the other one goes when, right? So is that where Steven goes when Mark's in control? Is that where Mark goes when Steven's in control? And then because Jake was in control, they're both there.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be. It would make sense. I would love them to explain more, but now, okay. So overall, number one, what did you guys think of the series?
I guess it was good to fill the weeks, but if there were some other show on, I'd be probably much more excited to watch that one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was interesting things in this, but it was also a lot to cram into 6 episodes, and I don't feel like they really did it justice. And then at the end, I'm still left hanging with lots of questions, like, what even is this? And you don't know if it's a series or if this was just it was limited. Maybe they'll introduce him in a movie later, but then as who, right? He comes in as Jake Lockley.
Right.
You won't even know. You know what I mean? Like,
here's my biggest, I guess, problem with this is yes, I'm left with a lot of questions, but I don't care if I get the answer.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
And they had to jam a lot in there, but I still don't know that I know a lot about Moon Knight. I know more about Moon Knight than I did before, but I can't tell you what his powers are. To be sure, right? Like, does he fly? He sort of does. He's sort of invulnerable, but he can get stabbed, but he healed. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what he does. I don't care if it comes back for season 2. Like, if it does, cool. If it doesn't, cool. All the other Marvel shows, when it was over, I wanted more right away. Like, you could have given me season 2 of WandaVision, Captain Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Loki. You could have given me them like the next week, and I've been cool.
Yeah.
If this one comes back, okay. If it doesn't come back, I'm good. That's my thing. Like, you left me a lot of questions, but I don't care if I get the answer.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Like I said before, like, I didn't know much about the character. I just always loved his look. And when I saw him in the comics, you know what I mean? So whenever he showed up in a team up, I was like, oh, I like Moon Knight. Cool. But I only got bits and pieces of him there, right? So I really didn't know much about him. So to get an opportunity to see him in live action was cool. And they did a really good job with the costume, with the multiple different costumes. They did a good job with that. But to agree with both of you, there's so much going on that I was confused most of this damn thing, which almost never happens to all 3 of us. At least like 2 out of the 3 of us kind of get what the hell's going on. None of us knows what the fuck's going on. And just like you guys, if they do a season 2, I'm going to watch it because it's Marvel, but I don't care if they do one. Like, I'm just like, you know, which is finally disappointing because it's taken them 11, 12 years now to get to this point, but they finally did it. Like, you know, they finally came out with something where I was just like, all right,
yeah,
you know.
I wonder how much of it though is you know, they've dug down for some B-rate superheroes, but I mean, to me anyway, this is like going way down, right? Like a fringe character that probably has like a few thousand fans at most, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that plays in, because like even with like Shang-Chi, I mean, he's kind of B-rate, but I still liked it, and I would like to see him come back. I'm not
Yeah.
super eager about, a Shang-Chi sequel or something, but
Right,
it was
sure.
good. They did really
It was
well
a,
with
it
it.
was a good movie. Yeah.
But when it ended, it wrapped it up, and you're like, all right, great.
Yeah,
Like, I don't have any questions.
yeah,
That was entertaining. Cool.
Yeah.
yeah. I think there's some danger in doing a real bottom of the barrel choice like this and then leaving it all open-ended. Was like, okay, great character. I didn't know
Oscar
that well, and
Oscar
still
Isaac is
don't fully
great.
understand. Might come back later. Okay.
Oscar Isaac did a great job as Mark and Steven and Jake.
He was amazing. Yeah.
The rest of it, like, there wasn't enough actual Moon Knight in it.
Right.
Right, the costumed hero. And then Layla's not a very well formed character, who becomes her own superhero, and you're like, oh, cool, you got powers too. What do you do? Yeah, and I don't care about the answer.
The other thing is he's almost not a hero the way that they portray him, right? I mean,
Right.
he
Well,
was
again,
he
which is
was
kind of
kind
what
of
I was.
not
Yeah.
a bad guy, but like he wasn't doing anything for the benefit of other people. I mean, he didn't want to
Right.
die and he agreed to be this thing, and he was going out and killing people on behalf of Khonshu. Bad people, I guess, but you know, like all the other heroes in Marvel pretty much have some sort of, they're not out for themselves, and they touch on that a little bit here, like he's maybe doing something to protect his ex-wife or his other self, but ultimately it's
Was still
mostly
selfish.
self-involved stuff.
Self-serving. Yeah.
Right.
And I
And
think in this
and again, like for
episode,
him to be a darker person or a darker hero would be more in line with like what I was saying, how he's associated with like the Midnight Suns and Blade and Ghost Rider and all that. And that I would like to see, because they are doing Blade, and there's rumors that they're talking to Norman Reedus to come in for Ghost Rider, which I think would be really good. I would like to see them build something like that, a darker side of the Marvel universe. That could be cool. But the other thing too is like what really when Steven and Mark confronted Khonshu in the desert, and Steven's like, how does this all work out? I thought they were going to do something like, I thought they were going to kind of force his hand. Like, if you want us to help you stop Amit, then you have to agree to basically like release us from servitude to you, but let us keep the power to go on and help people or something. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to do something like that. And instead, turns out they just opened up the other third personality. So, okay.
here's the thing. In this episode, and we talked about this last time, you had so much to resolve in one 30-ish minute episode, that what they really did is, like, they had a couple fights. The good guys they're on the ropes, and we have a blackout scene, and when we wake up, it's over. And you're like, really? That's how we're doing this?
Yeah.
6 episodes of stuff, and we blacked out and we woke up. And right, we hinted at Jake, and we, the other sarcophagus, and we didn't open it. We didn't know that we all sort of know the third personality is there, but we hadn't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how we resolve this whole thing, right?
Right.
The two heroes are almost going to lose, and we just did, nope, it's over. You're like, oh,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah. And again, like, I wouldn't even 100% hate that. I would rather them have done it a different way and bring Jake more into like a season 2. But if you did something like this and everybody knew there was going to be a season 2, so that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like the way they leave it hanging in the post credits, it looks like there's a season 2 coming. But
you could have shown the fight and done the reflection thing, and Mark and Steven are back there, like, who's this?
Right. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so you at least see the fight. I mean,
yeah.
It was we zapped out and we zapped back and we win. Oh.
And I think that's another problem for me, and this is my own expectations that maybe Marvel didn't set up. But I thought this was going to be sort of a darker show. But everything that could have been dark, conflicts, with his multiple personalities, they made a joke out of it, right? It was all very comedic and light. And then what was left to be dark was the third personality, and we don't see any of it until the mid-credit scene.
Yeah. So it was, there was definitely a lot left hanging here that I'm only semi-interested in. So, yeah, I think we've beaten a dead horse. At least more than Jake Lockley beat the hell out of Harrow. So, all right. So lastly, I know we'll just kind of like let everybody know now. Eric, you're out of town for the next couple of weeks, right?
Yep.
So Paul and I will figure something out to record together. And then you come back shortly before I leave, and I'll be gone for like 2 weeks. So you guys can figure something out. But in the meanwhile, tonight, Doctor Strange dropped. And I guess Monday they did like the friends and family, coworkers, whatever, preview party or whatever. And from that moment on, holy shit, stay off the internet. Because I was like, my typical thing, like with Spider-Man and Endgame, all that, like Tuesday, Wednesday, I try to stay off of like looking at news articles because you never know what I'm going to come across, right? Fucking Monday, dude. Now, it wasn't even what I was reading. It was like a sidebar article over here. And I saw something and I was like, get the fuck, really? I'm like, it's not even out yet. Jesus. So there are spoilers all over the damn internet. If you don't want anything spoiled more than what's been spoiled already by trailers and shit, stay the fuck off the internet. We're going to see it Saturday evening. When are you guys going to see it?
Probably Saturday.
Paul?
I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
I will
well,
see it. I will see it before the week of the 23rd or whatever.
Yeah, well, we've definitely decided we're going to hold our review of Doctor Strange until Eric gets back so we can all three review it. So, Paul,
Okay.
you've got like about 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks.
You got 3 weekends.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, because we got like maybe the Doctor Strange review on the 19th, but that's like as soon as you get back home, Eric. So we could push it to like Wednesday before I leave. I could probably record.
Yeah, I put
so,
maybe Doctor Strange on both that Thursday and the following Wednesday.
Yeah, so we can figure out either, or we might have to push it up to Tuesday if Heather gets mad at me for trying to record.
Oh, sorry, I put it on Tuesday. I put it on Tuesday, not Wednesday. Sorry.
Oh, it is Tuesday. Yeah. No, because I'm leaving Wednesday. Yeah. We'll figure it out, but we'll figure out when we record that. But
well, I got Becca caught up on the pre-watch, so she was saying maybe we'll go Saturday.
All right, sweet. So then, Paul, you let us know when you watch it, and that way we can all talk about it in text before we go review it.
Okay.
All right. I guess that is it for tonight. We don't know what we're going to send you next week, but Paul and I will figure it out. So on that note, let us know what you thought of the Moon Knight series, season, whatever the fuck it is. Like, subscribe, ring a bell, comment, tell us what else you want to talk about. Look forward to Doctor Strange and Obi-Wan coming out this month. And hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we will see you soon. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Scarlet Scarab.
Good night, Harrow, forever.
Good night, Eric's dogs.
Yeah, at least it was only 3 times during the recording.